change. What does the word mean to you? Is it an exciting prospect or a thing to dread? One thing's for sure, change is going to come whether we want it to or not.
That's one constant, no matter where you go, no matter who you are with, is that something is going to change. And when it changes, you can either give up right then and there, or you can keep going forward and trying to adapt.
The Air Force is moving through a period of change right now. Changes in the way it's organized, changes in the way airmen deploy, changes to optimize for great power competition. So where do airmen fit in? How do you handle the changing work environment and still perform to your best? Understanding the reasons for change is one way to help move it forward. So let's take a look at what's driving all of this.
China, China, China. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time. We are out of time. We are out of time. Why do I say that? It's not that I enjoy sounding like a broken record. It's because for at least 2 decades, China has been building a military that is designed, purpose-built, to deter and defeat the United States if we intervene in the Western Pacific.
The world is changing. China is looking to exploit new technologies to gain advantage over the US, while Russian aggression has pulled allies together and expanded NATO. The global landscape is more complex and dynamic than ever before. The Air Force, built for the previous era, must change to meet these challenges. The Air Force must deliver combat-effective, agile, and adaptive air power at scale.
In between this turn, you're going to need a load planner, somebody who's going to select the loads.
We talked to officers and enlisted airmen around the country about the coming changes and to get some insight into how they're making it happen. Air Force Force Generation, or AFRGEN, is a new way of deploying airmen, and it changes the way the service presents troops to combatant commanders for operations. Lieutenant Colonel Jake Parker is a planner for the massive Mobility Guardian exercise. In 2023, Mobility Guardian was held outside the U.S. for the first time in the Indo-Pacific region. It was the largest Air Mobility Command readiness exercise in history, with 70 mobility aircraft and more than 3,000 troops from 7 countries taking part. As a planner, Parker says AFRGEN played a role in building the exercise.
Air Force Force Generation model. It's the Air Force's way of increasing readiness while increasing predictability for the units.
The AFRGEN model has 4 phases, or bins, for airmen. The entire cycle is 2 years long, with each phase lasting 6 months. It starts with the prepare phase, focused on training and tactics. The certify phase keeps troops at peak readiness through large-scale exercises and certification events. The available to commit phase is when airmen deploy, and the reset phase is for reintegration and recovery after a deployment.
And really what that's doing is it's meant to drive the readiness of our force up and provide a more stable, predictable life pattern for the airmen at the unit level. We use the AFRGEN model to pick and choose which units we're going to be supporting Mobility Guardian. So we use the units that were in that certified bin so that they could move into theater, get their certification within Mobility Guardian, and then they were ready for a worldwide deployment.
Agile Combat Employment, or ACE, favors networks of small, dispersed locations that generate air power. It also complicates an adversary's ability to attack and increases survivability for airmen and aircraft.
The changing character of war means that we're going to be more and more targeted. Adversaries have the capabilities to see us, whether it's in the space layer or other platforms that know where our forces are going to be. We need to have the ability to pick up and move very, very rapidly when those locations or those forces come under threat. So having the ability to maneuver out of that space and get off the X, as we like to say, very rapidly and disperse your forces is going to enhance survivability. It's going to create a targeting problem for adversaries, because if we are not clustered in one location, but we're dispersed in many, still having the ability to come together and aggregate combat power, that's a problem for adversaries.
Mission-ready airmen get the job done, handling duties outside their normal specialty, and that's especially true in a deployed environment.
Anything can happen downrange, from a section needing extra help or an emergency that might pop up. You might have to go down and fulfill a duty that you're not necessarily comfortable with doing, but you just have to fall back on your basic training and whatever you learn in pre-deployment that will help you out in the long run.
And so we're always preparing them in the basic training, but then when they get back into the garrison, we're constantly working together to be able to expand their horizons. Working across, they might have a special care, such as aerial port or aircraft maintenance, but we're really trying to take our folks and make them be integrators. Allow them to understand what it looks like for some of the other airmen, how they're working, and how do they actually come together as a team to be able to make the mission happen. And so maybe one day you're a defender, the next day you're actually helping somebody change a tire on a forklift. And that's the mindset we're really trying to get across the continued response community.
Wings are building dedicated A staffs that coordinate and integrate information, supporting a commander's decision-making. The construct maximizes responsiveness in a crisis and helps integration with the joint force. A staffs also provide development opportunities for young NCOs and officers. The change frees up squadron commanders so they can fully focus on missions. And Mission Command is a philosophy of leadership that empowers airmen to act and make decisions, building trust through the ranks.
One of the biggest things for me is empowerment. So I come from a community where we have airmen at all levels leading teams, doing supervisory work, and their ability to get after the mission is absolutely unstoppable. So my biggest thing is making sure that I empower those around me to help make the mission happen, and that has helped me. I've learned so much from that community as well.
All of these efforts are moving forward as the Department of the Air Force commits itself to reoptimize for great power competition. In 2023, Secretary Kendall announced that the department would address the need for broad and comprehensive change in light of China building its conventional forces and its nuclear and space capabilities. That launched a deep dive analysis of what was needed to organize, train, and equip the Air Force and Space Force. The results of that study were announced earlier this year with several key decisions centered around 4 core areas: developing people, generating readiness, projecting power, and developing integrated capabilities.
We're trying to do 2 things at the same time, folks. We need to both be ready today with the force that we have. We need to approach that with a sense of urgency. So in the areas that I talk about, the projecting power and the generating readiness, that is about getting our force ready today to project power in the manner it needs to be for the fight, should it happen sooner than anybody wants. But we also need to update, reoptimize, dare I say, the processes, the policies, the authorities, and in some cases the structures, to be competitive for the long term.
In all, 24 key decisions have been announced that are spread across the department from headquarters to the Air Force and Space Force. For its part, the Air Force has 16 key decisions to implement as part of the reoptimization effort that addresses each of the 4 core areas mentioned earlier: developing people, generating readiness, projecting power, and developing integrated capabilities.
We are committed to these. We do not have them exactly right. And I am unapologetic to stand here in front of you and say I do not know the exact final destination. And here's why. Because if we wait to move to have those final answers, we will be too late. We have to have trust and confidence that the analysis we've done has put us on the right path. And I am fully confident in that. We need to move. We have the right vector, and we can adjust once we get on course. But you have to be moving to be on a course, to adjust course. And that's what we're going to do.